Stand by, audience. Okay, we'll get ready to get started here. I just got to pass control to Christina, who's our, good to see you here today, Christina. And Quinn, stand by. Quinn Davis is here. She's a graduate of Cal State Long Beach. She's been sick this week, and I'm happy to see her here. I'm always happy to have her here. I'm making you co-host there, good old Christina. Gotcha. All right, I have the wrong date, but I'm in my right mind. It's August 20th, and we're going to have Jumpstart meeting number 5, which without a doubt has the most content, because I call it always every year when I think about this meeting, I call it the back to school meeting, because that's really what's happening. Hold on, it paused on me. I call it the back to school meeting because generally it's right before we go back to school. And here we are getting ready to go back. And here's the meeting. Last year, show you how things work. It was like right on the 18th, and this year was the 20th. So you can see that that's pretty faithful. All right, on the bottom of this view graph, if you take a quick look, you will see, make sure I close this, good. You will see that it's my email address, our website, and our YouTube channel. Now we're going to share with you, if we haven't already, very soon, the PowerPoint slides, so you can go on your slides, Google Slides, and watch it. But also it'll have the live links in there. If you want to go right to our YouTube channel, it's right there. Now be careful, if you do it during the meeting, don't click on the live meeting, because we'll get what you call reverberation, because there's a delay on the YouTube live. All right. I want to say hello to anybody joining us on YouTube. I know I have some people from New York who are watching today. I think you'll see some things that are relevant to your situation. Let's start off with why every student who is 3.0, I have to say before I get started, picking the view graphs to use and then what order, I had to be very prayerful about it. But I think this is right where parents are right now. I just think like a parent when I'm not sure what to do, but I think this is a good place to be. And I hope there's some students that are seeing this too, while you're watching, parents. Remember, if you have any questions, just go ahead and put it in the chat, or you can just raise your hand, or sometimes you'll catch me between thoughts and you can just open your mic and ask. And guess what? I'm going to answer you no matter what you do. And I know Christina and Quinn are watching closely the chat, and they're watching all there as well. Somebody should probably peek over on YouTube Live in about 10 minutes, by the way.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that the presentation that we're sharing is on the chat. So once you go on the chat, I believe you should be able to download that PowerPoint to your device, and then you can have a copy that way.
Okay, great. And then if all that goes over your head or you're driving or whatever, just when you get home, shoot an email to me and I'll send you a link to the presentation. Don't worry about that. First of all, why every student, and that goes for people on YouTube Live, need a copy of the presentation, go ahead and email me at holythinkers@gmail.com. I'll be glad to send that to you. Why every student who is 3.0 to 3.3 GPA or below should not predominantly apply to private colleges. Sometimes I see that students are 3.0 and they apply to 15 schools, are all private colleges. And right away, my mind shifts to the parents' retirement. And you'll see why in a moment. I'm deeply concerned. This year more than ever, I'm going to be super assertive about college costs because it's really gotten out of hand and I'm deeply concerned about it. First of all, before we get into this too far, when I say private college, this includes HBCUs, which at the end of the day are just about all private colleges. So they're not immune to my comments today. A lot of people feel that Black schools, and some of them are very high quality. I mean, come on, I'm very aware of that. But there's some kind of assumption that they cost less or they have a different cost model. No, they're the same cost model as private colleges, which is why I include them in this discussion. This is unless 80,000 or 300,000 for 4 years is okay with you. And I'm being very serious. For many people, and it happened last year too, that kind of cost is okay. There's people who think that it's worth it to put a student into the school of their choice, a student in there, and one that's well known or whatever this case may be, alums or whatever. There are many parents that are very willing to do this, but I get an equal number that call me after 2 years and ask, is there any way out of it? Or after 4 years and they say, is there any way I can get around paying this? And by the way, nobody's talking about forgiving parent loans. There's been zero discussion in Congress for forgiving or even reforming the parent loan system. I have a video or two on what I would do. You can go look on my video channel and see. It's really quite amazing how they treat it like a political football. This applies to nearly all out-of-state public universities too. So not only does this 3.0 to 3.3 is I don't think every student who's 3.0 to 3.3 should apply to out-of-state public universities. Just nearly all of them are overpriced too. They're going to be the same kind of price range as those private schools that I just spoke of. Okay. Complex admissions requirements with little chance of success. Yeah, they have not only these schools costing a little more, their admissions requirements are kind of hard to overcome. I will say this, there are a small group of private colleges for very unusual reasons. And I'm going to show you in a moment those that would be a good buy for you, dollar for dollar, and would not get you into seriously high cost and in most situations. And I will definitely let you know about those, but these comments are really true about nearly all private colleges. I mean, we'll talk about it in a minute. Here's your explanation, okay? Unless the GPA is 3.85 plus, unweighted and an SAT of 1400 plus, four-year private college is probably not affordable for you. That's the blunt truth. Now, again, there's that small group of colleges that we're going to talk about today that most people they may be interested in them, but not as much as some other schools. And that brings to mind this idea of better known and well known is going to cost you more. That kind of an idea comes to mind on this as well. Okay, go ahead and admit Travis there, Christina, if you can see. Can you see Travis's admit thing there?
Yes.
Go ahead and let him in. Unless you're those parameters, it's not going to be affordable. And I have students this year that are above those limits, and they're going to find it. And by the way, those are the parents that are most concerned about affordability. And by the way, if you're close 3.75, there's going to be more private colleges that'll be okay, but there'll be still a bunch that won't be. Admissions is possible. A good example of this is our DC college tour. I picked GW and Howard because Howard, for our students, if they apply before Halloween, I'm nearly all the time we get 2 kids every year to get their highest merit award if their grades are high. Okay, if the grades are moderate, they get something more than most students. GW, because it's GW, and they definitely will. They definitely are forgiving the middle class families in my program. In fact, you get a nice alumni award usually if you can get admitted to GW. Okay, so that's why even when I visit schools, I'm very careful to visit schools that are affordable. All right, so admissions is possible in these cases above with a reduced GPA and a high SAT. But what about affording it? Okay, you might say, well, I just want to get them in. Okay, so you get your son or daughter into a private school. I don't want to call any names. Maybe I will. So you get into USC. Okay, now the question becomes, can you afford it? And that's where it gets tricky. Say you're 3.67, you have a good admissions package, you get in, and you find out you're going to owe $35,000, $40,000 a year to be on campus. And then that becomes a reality. But you can't afford it even though you got in. So that's something you want to watch for. Remember, admissibility and affordability are two entirely different issues. They really are two entire. And I used to say sustainability. I didn't say that here today, but sustainability, parents, means your ability to pay for the college all 4 years or 5 years in some cases. That's able to sustain it. And that's why I get those calls after 2 years. Is there any way I can get out of this? Is there something I can do? I will tell your students, 18 things they can do when they get to college, and they don't have to do all of them. That will reduce the parent loan, but to totally, eliminate a large portion of it might be difficult for your student depending on the campus they're on. Students should get, here's what it should be. Students, if you're a student, I'm talking to you, you should get the school you earn and want, not just the one you want. And I would say to you students, welcome to your first adult lesson, because you are young adults. That's the way I consider you from now on. The first lesson in life is, glory, Lord just spoke to me about something, is that you get what you earn in life, not always what you want. And then sometimes you might have earned something and you want it, but you still don't get it. And parents can tell you about that. That's very adult. I bet if I could go around, every parent would tell me stories about that. I could tell you stories about that, where I didn't get something that I thought I earned. We had a grant we applied for recently, and the grant provider said, you have everything we want to see in a grant, and you worked very hard on your grant, but we're just not going to go in your direction. Okay, so things like that in life, and it's the same thing in this college admission thing. Okay, here's some view graphs I showed earlier, but something tells me they may take on new significance. Some of you may have seen my video, which is partially based on this. It doesn't have the back end of the video, but I'm going to run through these view graphs super fast. It's really what allows me to be able to have so many view graphs this time, because I knew we didn't have to talk about these too much, because there's a point I'm making. I said earlier I would show you some of these schools, and I'd talk about the ones that are high, but we can, because of extenuating situations, they can actually be quite affordable. Before I do that, I should discuss the 1/3 rule. And I'm going to keep this as simple as I can this time. I talked about it a lot last time. There is a video on this if you want to see more on it. But basically, the orange is the school, what they'll pay for college, private college, selected private college. The gray is what the student will pay, or what they get with merit awards, right? Academic merit, and what the parents can get. Now, obviously, if the students can get more than 33%, depending on how high their grades are. This is set arbitrarily at 3.8. They're in perfect balance with 3.8 unweighted and 75,000 based on my data. So if you have so remember that 1/3, there's still going to be 1/3 that the parent has to pay. And that could be bigger if the student's GPA is lower, they're only able to pay 20%. The parent picks it up. The school doesn't widen what they do. Okay? That's very, very important. And included in what the school will do is what the feds would do if there's a need basis at all. That's what the feds would do, okay? All right, I lost my share there. Sorry, guys. I don't know what happened there. Here we go. Okay. I think I'm back in share now. All right, so I just want to make sure you know the 1/3 rule. I'll be referring to it in the next 15 view graphs. NYU is a good example. Most of the private schools I picked are private colleges I hear about every year. Students applied to last year. They're very popular with the students and parents. Some students want to go to New York and go to NYU. It's $78,900 per year. Almost 80,000. I'm applying your 1/3 rule, which may be the best you can get for NYU. 1/3 of that is still pretty expensive for college. You're talking about upper 20,000s per year for college. You might, again, that might be okay with you, and it's sure, you might be all right with it if your student really likes the school. But before you even go to visit, you should know the cost of the school and about how much you're going to pay for the school. Just about 1/3. Let me run through the rest of these. I said I wouldn't spend a lot of time. There's a video on this where I spend more time. Duke University is $78,900 per year, tuition, room, and board. Southern California, USC, is $77,900 per year. You get the idea. They're all about the same amount. This is why many of us think there's collusion. In fact, there was a federal lawsuit against them during the Trump administration. But when the new administration came and they dropped that lawsuit, it was about collusion and about admission collusion and financial aid collusion. 74,500 is Harvard. 79,300 is Georgetown in Washington, D.C. It operates a lot like an Ivy League school. Loyola Marymount, right here in town, 72,200 per year, tuition, room, and board. And some of these may be a little higher this year. It's hard to say. They published their costs a little early, but they could theoretically drift up with inflation. Chapman College, 71,200 per year. University of San Francisco, very popular with our students, is $70,800 per year. Again, remember the 1/3 rule, 1/3. George Washington is a good example, just under 70,000 a year, but I have an asterisk there because with GW, there's some special relationships we have with them that we could overcome the 1/3 rule, and it could be more like 1/5. And that's why we usually put 4 or 5 students, or maybe 3 or 4, in George Washington every year. I should probably give you my disclaimer that I am an alumni admission person for GW. And my daughter went there and my sister went there. And there you go. Actually, it's funny, Andrea, a lot of you know Andrea, she got her distance master's degree from George Washington as well. I should give you all those disclaimers. But it's a very good selective private college. It's in Washington, D.C., great career possibilities, et cetera, et cetera. But the 1/3 rule you can overcome, which is why it has the asterisk. Georgia Tech is our first out-of-state public university that I'm showing you here. It's 65,200 per year. Get a drink there. University of Washington, another very popular school with our students, is $63,200 per year tuition. Remember, you don't have the 1/3 rule with public universities. Pretty much you're going to pay what it is, unless you have a super high GPA and SAT. You may be able to get it close to the 1/3 rule then. Arizona State, same thing. Very extremely popular, probably the most popular out-of-state school with our students. I usually have 10 or 15 students applying every year because they want to go to Arizona State, but there's your cost, parents. And again, they don't give grants to California students. They just don't. And I don't think they give very high merit awards either. University of Arizona is a little better with it, I suppose. But again, you're getting to that 1/3. But in 1/3 here might be the same amount as CSU, right? But the grades have to be extremely high. University of Oregon, same exact story. I won't repeat what I just said. Very popular school with our students. I'm not totally sure why, but it is. Here's Howard University. I have an asterisk because if you can get your application in by October 31st, because I could put you on the list, I think you can defeat the 1/3 rule, certainly. And it's worth a shot. They're both in DC, Howard and GW. Spelman College, 54,200 per year. Morehouse, 54,100 per year. That's not collusion, right? Anyway, Hampton University, 53,200 per year. It's a lot harder to get merit awards from Hampton. Their GPAs are set very high. University of Nevada, Las Vegas, extremely popular with our students, extremely. And it's just under 50,000 for tuition, room, and board. And there are actually no merit awards at all for out-of-state students. You just pay the price. So if you hear someone's going to UNLV, then you know for sure that they're taking on the debt, and they really should love their parents forever for that kind of debt. You see in the background, the strip, it's actually that close too, which some people think this is a Photoshop picture, but it's actually right. You can see the Las Vegas Strip in the background. Then there's Clark Atlanta at a fire sale, 41,200 per year. But again, very hard to get merit awards from Clark. But if you can get them, you'll certainly defeat the 1/3 rule. You're going to have to be 3.8 or above unweighted, though. And you have to have taken the SAT and have to score above 1350. But that's Clark Atlanta. Here's a parent loan table. Parents, I won't dwell on this too long. Again, on my video, I do. And I'm telling you to look at your life cycle loan costs and the assumptions I've made about it and the interest rate. You get an idea what you'll be paying for 10 years for that loan. Okay,
There's a question from a parent.
let's go.
So when does the cost aid support change if you apply before Halloween?
Before what?
Before Halloween?
We're talking about that parent's talking about Howard University, everybody. And when does it change? I don't totally understand the question, but I'll try. It doesn't. You need to apply early.
Oh, why? Why does the cost aid support?
Oh, because
change?
like most Black schools, Howard just is the top one on this. They give away 90% of their merit funds to early action students. So if you want to go to Black school, you should not be applying much after November 15th to any Black school. You can, because it's a free country. But I got a spoiler alert, you won't get much money. The lion's share of their funds are given to early action students, because in the case of Black colleges, when students apply early, they're likely to pick the Black school. It's not true of majority schools. I'm not totally sure why. I have a theory, but I don't want to get into that right now. So that's why it's true. You need to apply early. And it's good. I'm telling you now, it's 2 months before it's going in. And yes, the application is a little involved. The writing, you need to have someone experienced, and we are, to read over those supplemental essays or essay plus the Common App essay to make sure that it's looking like something they would accept. And then well, I'll take another one.
And another follow-up is like, what's the earliest you can apply to HBCU?
You can theoretically apply for most of them after September 1st, but I wouldn't sacrifice quality of application just to be quick. Don't read into my comments that the quicker you are, the more money you get. Just make the October 31st date. Hope that helps. Don't like rush and get it out now and then sacrifice quality. Really put together a good application package and make sure somebody who knows admissions reads it, not an English teacher, someone who knows admissions and can look at clarity. Because frequently when I'm reading for George Washington, I'm told, don't worry about minor English errors. Did they answer the question? Are they clear? That doesn't mean you just send them an essay that has errors in it on purpose. Oh, absolutely not. I wouldn't do that. But keep that in mind. Don't sacrifice, don't sacrifice, hold it, I got myself. Don't sacrifice quality of package just to be early thinking you'll get more money. It actually doesn't work out that way. Okay. Is there any other follow-ups there? Probably are.
No, you're good.
I am? Oh, okay. I hope that answered the question. That was a good question. Both of those were good. That's why I say ask your questions as I go. They're usually good questions, always. Well, let's talk about a little bit more about our delivery support for CSU. I think I've covered this before, but we're surprised that we sent out information and no one's filled out the data form. And that's okay. Maybe people just don't want to think about CSU right now, but it's a reality because of the costs and the admissibility of CSU. And a lot of my great students and great careers have started CSU. Well, there is a grade self-report with CSU, and then there's an application, simple as that. The CSU, you fill out a grade self-report using the transcript and you deliver the application. Seems simple, right? Well, the application itself is not user-friendly, particularly if you've changed schools, if you have a D or an F in something and made it up. There's ways to make mistakes. There's other things too, like how you report the grade, what grades you report, which ones you don't. There's an art to doing that self-report that they think students can just pick up because it's user-friendly. We don't agree with that. And I'm great friends of CSU and I argue with them about it all the time. So we offer some delivery support for you. We have, if a student wants to apply to CSU, we have a data form. We're going to send it to you again. We're going to make sure that you get it one more time. I think you should fill out the data form and let us do the application. I think it will be very helpful to you in the long run, okay? But in any event, we'll do follow-up with the student once we deliver the application. We'll follow up and train the student to follow up with the CSUs, right? On and how to build their portals, how to look at and see what the status is, because CSU doesn't do mail anymore. Everything's online, all their communication. And so we want the student to be able to know that CSU's trying to contact them. So that's why I put our logo over there. That's how we'll help on that end. And the support cost is about $55. We'll be glad to work with the student all the way through to May and June when they actually go to CSU or any college at that point. We know we'll work with you on that. All right. For UC, again, we covered this before, but on UC and selective private college, that's what SPC means, selective private college. It's going to be a grade self-report in the case of UC, but in the case of selective private college, there's no grade self-report. There's just the essays, right? So that's how UC and private college agree. They both usually have essays, and there's going to be an application delivery. However, there's more things. There's teacher recommendations in the case of, see it's in black, selective private colleges. You need delivery oversight for the transcripts and for the application in most cases, whether it's Common App or not. And then there's the SAT that might be a consideration with private college. Again, the black arrows are private college. Notice on UC, there is no SAT consideration because UC and CSU are not even reading the SAT. They're not allowed to care about it. It's not part of the admissions process. I hope you understand that. It is not always clear to my parents. If you get a counselor that's acting like you need the SAT because of CSU or UC, you just found yourself an amateur, okay? There was a counselor last week I had to call because the parent told me they had told them that. UC and Common Application essay startup and support is what we're doing now with about 9 families. We're working with them on their essays. We have the ability to do more. Just let us know. We'll show you how to get started on that. That's where our EEP logo is down there. And then UC, of course, had the grade self-report as well that we can help with. Okay. Application timelines and processes, starting with CSU. It's October 1st through the 20th. We think that's the best time to deliver. Again, a lot of people think the earlier they deliver, the more likely they are to get in. That's not true because CSU has a close, tight algorithm to who gets into what CSU. And they're not going to announce it anyway till later. And the ones that announce it earlier are going to be the less selective ones anyway. So you should do them to make your life early, to make your life less complicated. Because as you move through the period, it gets more and more complicated. The holidays start to come up, and that's when kids and families start to miss applying to CSU. There's a CSU application website. The grades are self-reported using a transcript. Again, we can do this for you. Just let us know. There is no essay. Again, if you have a counselor that tells you there's an essay required, you're looking at someone who's not familiar with the application process. There's no recommendation, same thing. That's true for UC and CSU, by the way. UC has essays, but nobody has recommendations. Say, well, who's doing who's recommendations? What's recommendations for? It's for certain private colleges, okay? Transcripts are not required for CSU or UC unless specifically requested in a subsequent correspondence. That's why you got to watch your email and your portals. SAT and ACT scores, okay, this should not be here because the SAT and the ACT are not read out to correct this view graph. There is no SAT or ACT requirement for CSU or UC. Here are common reasons for non-admission or non-enrollment. The CSUs on the list are all area impacted, and the student's index or GPA is too low. And that's happens a lot. This is why you want to have someone who knows CSU to look at your CSU list, because students on their own might pick a lot of schools that are just more difficult to get into. You just have the improper understanding of majors versus CSU. They don't regularly read their emails. That's a common reason for non-enrollment. A lot of students don't read email that much. And that's why we're here again. We're going to teach and coach your student to look at their emails and look at their portals. Student doesn't probably set up the information portals. I just told you how we could help with that. And that's why we decided that we would take a more aggressive or assertive approach to helping students with CSU, because it's pretty easy to beat. We saw too many students that were good enough to get into a CSU, but made one little mistake and paid for it and had to go to two-year college. Improper self-reporting, the A to G requirements are not met. Yeah, that's another thing we check for to make sure that the high school A to G requirements are met to get into CSU. Okay, so how does it all work? We talked about it a minute ago, but here's another view of it. There's a fee, but we email you a link. We're actually going to email you the link first. They want you to fill out the data form. You can pay later. There you as the parent, you have an online form. Hopefully you or your student will complete it. We'll quality check it and make sure it's complete. Our application input team creates a CSU. I'm sorry, we're going to ask the student at that point by email, Christina, I put this in here, to set up their own email address. So we're going to give them a format, and they need to give us the password because we want to be able to go in there and look and see what CSU is saying. We'll talk more about that once you get to that point in the process. I'm going to be looking at each application. I'm calling it a quality check application review. Then the 1st through the 31st, we'll deliver the application. We're going to have a support unit, and that's Christina. I'm calling her the team leader. Where that's going to be following up with your student, making sure we let you know that we've submitted it, but also following up with the student to make sure they're following up with CSU, that they're reading the information from CSU. So this is our CSU application support process flow, and we hope that your student will be working with us directly on that. It's about the time of year we need to start getting those data sheets so I can plan my labor. You're right. Yeah, my question always is, where do I deploy my labor? Do I deploy them with homework assistance? Do I deploy them with CSU? Do I deploy them with checking on students that are away? Well, the way I figure out is what's my application admission load? Who's interested in getting support? And if you wait till the last minute, it's going to be hard for me to adjust. It's going to cost me a lot more money to deliver. And I want to keep all of our costs down. It'd be great if you just step forward at this point and let us know. If you got any questions, let me know, Christina or Quinn or whoever's watching. I've mentioned here there's 23 campuses of portals and email that we try to communicate, that will communicate the same way. See, so there's slight differences, but they're all going to communicate online. They're not going to write letters. Okay, forget about the admissions letters when you're dealing with CSU, and more UC, same way. Let's talk about the positives for having no test scores for the class of 2023. That should say 23 up there, by the way. I'm going to correct all those. Maybe somebody like Quinn can go on there and correct that on the slides. Quinn, if you do that, I'd really appreciate that. You have access.
And there's also a question from a parent.
Okay, go ahead.
It says, is the fee paid per CSU application or once for all schools in the system?
Was that question about fees for the application? Was that a fee? Was that a fee question? I'm sorry.
Yes. It says the fee paid per CSU application or once for all the schools in the system.
Okay, the $55 was really a donation to us for our support. Now, each CSU application is $70. That's something we can't control. That's what CSU charges. And it's each application. So that will affect how many you apply to. Now, for certain students, given the family income and when you actually sign up with us, CSU will give me some community-based fee waivers. Last year, they cut them substantially. I was able to do it as many as I wanted 3 years ago. And last year, I was only the first 20 I could do it with. And for those first 20 or so, I guess that'll be that way this year, although I haven't asked them. I bet it will be. We can deliver 4 CSUs for free, but it can only be 4. You can't get the 4 free and then do 12. You cannot do that. You'll cause me to be destroyed by CSU. Okay. But in general, it's $70 per application. If you want us to be on board to help you, you need to get their data sheet. And we're going to base it on the date we get the data sheets. And right now, today, I don't believe we have any CSU data sheets despite our requests. I hope that answers the cost.
Not quite. I understand that each CSU charges an application fee. I'm asking about your $55.
Oh, it covers everything. Let me tell you what the $55 covers.
Thank you.
Us submitting it, us following up with your student and reminding them what they need to do. It also covers stuff after that. Like if we see something that's unique to CSU, we have a great expertise of CSU. We're going to tell you, hey, they have orientation. That was a school you were interested in, especially if you had a conference with us, because we know what CSUs they really want. So you get a lot of implied help because we're watching everything in the email at that point, right? So, and we're also aware of things of CSU. So F55 is for all support and probably all related support for other schools, because we can't, I mean, if we see something else, we're going to tell you, right? Because we're looking deep into the emails and we're noticing things, and we know other schools that student has applied to, hopefully, that are outside of CSU. We can help you with the comparisons. So it's not just the, it's not, for each school, it's for the whole process. And because we're subsidized by our church, we can get away with that. Any other questions? Okay, I'll continue on. Okay, well, so the positives for having no test scores are, you might think it's obvious, but students with GPAs of 2.5 to 2.8 can definitely make it into CSU if they pick non-impacted CSUs. And that's another place we can be helpful, following up on the last question, with how you pick your CSU list based on the GPAs. Many would normally have low SAT scores. Well, those students aren't a problem, right? They just get in based on their GPA. In fact, there are several, actually 4 CSUs where, let's just to Kesey Gregory in, would you? There are 4 CSUs where they might even get in below 2.5, okay? So low GPA students should only focus on GPA and their grades this year. Forget about the SAT. It's not needed for for CSU. Just focus on the GPA, not SAT. If parents are willing to take on a larger debt than CSU for college, then yes, the SAT may be important. There may be some schools somewhere that the higher SAT will help with getting a little bit of money. But in general, that's true what I have above. So no test scores, these are the positives. There's Brianna Gregory trying to get in. That's probably her daughter. Okay. All right, the negatives. You say, wait a minute, there's negatives to having no test scores? Yes, they are on our program. 65% of our students would not have gotten into their desired CSU without the SAT score they got. That's 2021 data. Isn't that interesting? That students would not have gotten the school they wanted without the SAT score. So we want SAT because we have a great SAT prep program. So obviously it's not important anymore because they'll admit just based on GPA. Nearly 33% of our students got into CSU only due to the SAT scores. They had GPAs of 2.2 to 2.5. These will need to go to a 2-year college because their GPAs are too low. They won't have the SAT to fall back on. In fact, I saw MIT and 2 other schools decided very quickly to bring back the SAT post-pandemic because they felt they were missing out on qualified Black students, right? Black students who scored high on the SAT, but had regularly high grades they were missing. So that's an interesting take that you don't hear in the media, isn't it? Even though CSU and UC will accept pass-fail for the semesters, it's not clear how previous Ds and Fs will be made up. Yeah, that's an interesting comment. I know there's 2 semesters where you can be pass-fail, but there's not been any comment on the semesters before the pandemic, say in 9th grade where there were Ds and Fs. There's not a clear sign that anything's going to happen there. And we would have had the test scores to help us in the past. We do not have test scores to help us moving forward with class of 2023. Okay. Let me get this out of the way here. Hold on. Okay. What will CSU cost? Again, this part of this was before. I kind of wrote this out rather than did a chart though. Local CSUs are nearly nothing out of pocket. That's out of pocket. It's $1,800 to $1,900 for the full year. However, they will have to take out a student direct loan to cover the remainder of the tuition. So it's like the student direct loans when they leave school will add up to about $220 a month for 3 years. I think that's okay. And if they can't pay that back, there's something wrong with the job, with their major. And we have a lot to say about that in this meeting, by the way. So about $1,800 to $1,900 is what it will feel like for you as a parent out of your pocket to pay the remaining tuition. CSU Long Beach, Dominguez Hills, Los Angeles, Poly Pomona with a little bit of driving, right? Fullerton with a lot of non-sustainable driving, and Northridge. In fact, on Northridge and Fullerton, I don't advise commuting for most students unless you live in Long Beach for Fullerton. And on Northridge, that's just with the traffic flows the way they are, I think it will affect your involvement on the campus. But these are the schools that are reachable for that minimum amount. Let's talk about going away to school now, being on a campus. Families who make less than $45,000 will pay $3,000 to $6,000 for 1 year, although that $6,000 is only for one or two of the CSUs. I'll talk about that in a minute. You're talking about $250 to $300 per month for college, and usually parents will find a way to do that. It includes room. In fact, if a parent took a small parent loan for this, I think that's okay. A small $3,000 a year, $4,000 a year, you know. It includes the room and board and tuition and fees. We call this the direct cost of the school. I mean, there's other costs too, but they aren't the ones typically that cause people to come home because they can't afford it. You get the airfare and the transportation and these things. Families who make $45,000 to $56,000, the cost is $6,000 to $7,000, $6,000 to $7,000 for 1 year. This includes room and board, tuition and fees, etc. And those who make above $56,000, you can see that the CSU cost model is heavily based on family income. $8,000 to $18,000 for 1 year, depending on how much above $56,000 the parents are. Once you get to about $65,000, you're paying the full amount for CSU. Again, the $18,000 covers room and board and tuition and fees. And there is a student loan for $5,500. If you decide not to take that, of course, that goes up to $24,000 that you would owe for CSU. We'll show you that again. I tend to include the student direct loan because 95% of parents will take that out. It's not their loan. And I think students, listen to this, students should pay something for college. I really, really, really believe that after about over 20 years experience, that they appreciate it more and they regard it more when they know they're paying for it. Okay. Here are the highest cost CSUs. I said I would talk about that. San Diego State, without a doubt, is the highest cost CSU. So even if families are less than $45,000, they're going to pay $6,000 for San Diego State. San Jose is the same way. It's pretty high. San Francisco's here. Those are the three highest cost CSUs. It's because of their property values. And when they bought those school properties, they paid market price. San Luis Obispo is another one like that. Fullerton, San Marcos, Northridge. Those are the highest cost CSUs. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's a complete list. I thought I left San Marcos off. I just said it. All right, here's a nice chart for you to kind of get an idea of how I think about college cost. Over to the left, you have Grand Canyon University, which we discussed. Go back and get our video for our session number 4 and our session number 2. You'll hear an extensive discussion of our favorite colleges, and they're also our most affordable, high quality colleges. And high quality for me means a chance of getting a career started, a great career started, and great facilities. Grand Canyon University, it's $14,500 for this 3.6 and family income of $80,000 plus. Please look at the top. Those are the assumptions. And again, if the GPA is higher and the family income is lower, these blue bars get even smaller, right? California State University is right at $17,500. Boise State, which I'm going to have something to say about them in a minute. They're actually going to be here online speaking to our students and parents on Monday night. It's a very popular school with our students. We have about 20 students there now. I keep saying 18. I forgot. There's actually 20 that are there. We've had up to 30 there, and it kind of bounces around the 20s. Boise State's about the same amount as CSU, and that's why a lot of families will choose Boise State or look at it, at least visit it, because it's the same amount they're going to pay for CSU anyway. Again, look at the assumptions above, 3.6 and 80,000 plus. Turns out at Boise State, it could be 3.2 and you can still get the 18,000 because of our relationship with them. UC is going to cost a little more than CSU, as you see, right? Private college, 29,000 net cost. That's a good average, kind of a sort of near the kind of mid bottom for our program. Then selective private college is going to be a little more. The more well-known ones, it's going to be $35,000. This is a pictorial to show parents how much more they're paying for college based on, different types of colleges. And remember, my private college one includes the HBCUs, which I regard as private colleges. There's some Boise State information for you at the different GPA levels, how much you expect to pay. And you can see that's going to be pretty much like what CSU is when you get the West Angeles scholarship, which is you can get at 3.0 or 3.2. Okay. Well, they give us 5 of those a year, by the way. We used all 5 last year between students that were already there that needed more money, plus new students going into the school. Well, we have a fair share of students at Boise State that are, we have valedictorians and salutatorians that have picked that school because of the honors program, which we'll have a lot to say about the honors program. If they visit the school, they'll visit that. They really love our students. We have a lot of great students that went through that. Now, about the Boise presentation, it's Monday night, 7 p.m. to 8:15. You go to our website and get a RSVP like you did today, and we'll see you in the meeting. We have a admissions representative, Abby, that will be speaking at that session. If there's a curiosity about Boise State, what it's all about, a lot of parents, I know a lot of you want to ask about, what about diversity, and there's no Black people there. And hey, by the way, that's a problem in college, period. Look, most of the colleges that we've talked about today, even already, are predominantly white. That's true. But I've had some great Black students go to Boise State and do well. My students there come out very balanced and take care of each other. I'm going to see if I can have one of them in that meeting Monday night, maybe available. Maybe my daughter can come by. She went to Boise State. And I'm up there I was just up there last week for orientation. I take good care of the students that are at Boise, by the way. We're visiting Boise State in September, so I thought I'd have the representative come on Monday night, 7 p.m. to 8:15. Please take advantage of that. That'd be good for you. Any questions out there, you guys? I'm not looking at all at that. We
I
okay?
just have a question about the GPA that you have been putting on the slides.
Yes.
Each one says the unweighted. So at what
Yes.
point does the weighted GPA make a difference?
So only for 0.004% of the colleges, and those unfortunately include our UCs. Our UCs are obsessed with weighted. Obsessed. Got it? So UCs are the one type of colleges that's the best example. None of the others look at it. There's a couple of exceptions. Let me try to think. There's some, Nevada, Reno, that doesn't matter here. So there's a few schools that look at weighted, but we're really thinking about our UCs when you think weighted. And that's why I don't talk about weighted that much. Scholarships are all based on unweighted. That's why. So when you're talking about UC and a little bit with CSU, you get into weighted. Now, I know they call it academic or university GPA, but that's weighted, okay? So I notice a lot of attention. Students are 4.3 and 4.5, but it's only going to matter with UCs as far as this state. And those of you that are listening in other states, like I know if you're listening in Georgia or New York, you happen to see this video later, they look at unweighted in state for your schools. So weighted is a lot overrated. Ooh, that was a rhyme. Weighted is interesting, right? But it's a little bit overrated. Now you might wonder, well, what about these AP classes? Well, they're qualitative consideration. Like schools might qualitatively see if they've taken AP classes, but they're not counting them in the GPA they decide for scholarships or for admission. Remember, in the UC, they do. UC is obsessed with weighted GPA. Does that answer the question? I hope I did. Is that good enough?
Yes, thank you.
Great, okay. And let's see it again. A lot of counselors in high school are really confused about that concept. Okay, the qualitative versus quantitative. And I know when I'm reading for, a certain school, I can't say supposedly, but when I do, I'm told to notice if they've taken AP, not to count it. There's no kind of quantitative counting. All right, college affordability basics. You want to know the most affordable non-California colleges? Many Protestant Christian colleges are extremely affordable and high quality. Some Western state colleges, some, not all. Some Big Ten or large state colleges. Certain private colleges. California State University. That's where your affordable colleges are, okay? Now, you might wonder what are some examples. We did it last meeting, but also we sent out an email this week pointing people to the website. If you go to our website, one of the banners at the top is going to be on most affordable colleges. Click there and you'll see a nice list. And I think it's segregated by type of school. So we're very out there in the open about examples of affordable colleges. And, if you're expecting to see, name brand schools, you won't, because you pay for that name. You pay tens of thousands of dollars to have that name. And a lot of people feel it affects the job. But, when I started a job they're going to get, when I started seeing kids from Bakersfield getting the same jobs as my kids from USC, I realized that it really depended on the student and their experiences while they're in college. We'll have a lot more to say about that in subsequent sessions. How they use the college is very important. I know my staff is expecting me to talk about Tony Stark and Iron Man, but I won't do that today. It's a lot of it is how you use the college. We should, in our program, we spend a lot of time teaching students how to use the college. That's very, very important to having a great career, how you use the college. UC affordability basics. UC's estimated direct cost is for a family income of under 50,000 is nearly nothing out of pocket. So you're going to be 2,000 to 8,500 when you're 55,000 to 75,000. Then 80,000 to plus, it's going to be 11,000 to 28. That's very easy to predict what you're going to pay for UC. It's very easy. I'm probably closer with UC than I am with CSU, and I'm pretty close with CSU. Just by looking at the data over the years, you can just see from last year to year, I'm watching what people are paying for college. I'm surveying my students now from last year, and it's confirming a lot. Here's some other affordability basics that you need to know. For GPA below 3.6 and SAT below 1190, for incomes of greater than 60,000, HBCUs and other private colleges, you can plan for 25 to 42,000 a year in net direct cost. You might say, well, I got to get a higher SAT, right? And then you also need to look at the GPA. And right now, going into the 7th semester, there's only a 1/7 effect on the final GPA. In other words, there's a finite amount only that you can raise a GPA even with straight A's. So keep that in mind. More on that, you can then talk to me about that offline. But there's a great I got to do a view graph on that, actually. I need to do that. For income less than 60,000, HBCU and TBC. TBC is traditionally Black college. Those are state universities that are traditionally Black, like Virginia State, Norfolk State, Florida A&M, right? It's going to be 25,000 to 47,500, even for the family less than 60,000, okay? So keep that in mind about Black schools. I put them in the same category as out-of-state state schools and private universities. If a student can, this is a good thing, if a student can actually get into UC, now I would say the top 5 UCs, he or she can go to most private schools for way less than UC due to the academic merit awards they're going to get. So if you want to save money, you can usually go out of state if you can get into Berkeley, UCLA, UC San Diego, Santa Barbara, et cetera. If you can get into those schools, then you probably can go to a private school for way less. And again, I made a list on my website and other places of those kinds of private schools. We'll talk about what else you can do to find out. We can talk personally about it. Let's talk about the Fafsa, getting ready for the Fafsa now as we come to a close here in a minute. The Fafsa financial aid award process. The Fafsa is delivered to the feds, to the federal government. There's a student aid report the government generates. This could be multiple student aid reports because you could be adding schools, right? There'll be an expected family contribution that will come in the upper right-hand corner of the student aid report that the government will assess how much you can pay for college, which always shocks my parents a lot, but don't worry a lot about that. Schools will do what they want anyway. There's a Csus profile if it's needed. Every school does not require it. Only certain selective private colleges require the Csus profile. And the colleges on the Fafsa get the information. They give a preliminary financial aid award. There's a Fafsa verification sometimes, and there's a final financial aid award. That's the financial aid process. One day I was trying to figure out a way. I used to, when I was a little more or less experienced here about 15 years ago, I would try to present it on multiple pages and it seemed real complicated. Well, I think this is the most compact way for a parent to understand it. It's right all in one place, and I hope that helped you. Fafsa facts to consider. Please listen closely to this view graph, ask questions until you understand it. I've experimented with different ways of explaining these, but this is the best I could do, I guess, to this year anyway. Fafsa stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid, which means you don't pay the government for the application. We ask for a donation for providing the file. We're official Fafsa preparer, and there is a block on the Fafsa that asks for us to fill in the information, and we do when we do the Fafsa. So we're an official preparer, and we do take donations to support us and help pay for our staff and our team, but we're way lower than these commercial. I see people online that are charging $2,000, $3,000. There's a guy here in Long Beach charging $6,000 to do the Fafsa. This is immoral, okay? We're about $50 to $55 for the Fafsa for a donation to our program. The Fafsa for 2023 and 2024, listen closely, is based on the 2021 income. Let that sink in. It's not based on this year. I usually wait a few minutes before I go on here. All right. Any questions there? Watch close, Christina. Any questions? Okay. The first date for filing the 23-24 Fafsa.
There's a question, sorry.
I know there always is. That's why I waited.
Okay. It says, is this cost based on the GPA as of the end of junior year or end of senior year?
Oh, that's not even related to this. Okay, good. So it's the GPA at the end of the junior year. Now there are two schools I'm thinking of right now on my preferred list that will wait for the senior year. Okay, that would be Boise State and Grand Canyon. Other than that, everybody's looking at the first 3 years. So parents, this is why you were right and pushed them on their grades the last 2 years. Because time's up on that now. I suppose they took a summer class, it would be counted. But basically, they're not going to wait. Now, sometimes schools request the 7th semester grades, but that's for admission consideration, not scholarships. Scholarships can be based on the first 3 years. I hope that answered that question. Remember, it's that was kind of an admissibility scholarship question. That was not a Fafsa question, everyone. So looking at this bullet, make sure you know that it's your need-based financial aid. It's going to be based on 2021 income, specifically line 11, which is the adjusted gross income on your tax return. I'll wait a minute again. Okay. The first date for filing the 23-24 Fafsa is October 1st, 2022. I'm gonna wait for a minute, let that sink in. Now, what's going to happen is you're going to hear all these advertisements that you need to file, and it's going to make you feel that you're late on October 2nd. That's not what that bullet says. It says it's the first date for filing. The financial aid deadline for schools is way different. It's way later. Now, again, I think it's a good idea to file your Fafsa early, but it's not because you'll get more money. And they'll tell you that and lie to you in a minute. That's not legal for them to do that. They should have their own university priority date, and that's the date that there's an issue. The federal government makes it available well before any school's priority deadline. I'm going to make sure you understand that, because sometimes people don't get the data sheets back to me till October. And clearly I can't file it right away. And they're worried I'm costing them money, but I'm not. Based on their college list. Sometimes it's if they only have CSUs and UCs, the deadline is March 2nd, 2023. So why are we filing so early? Again, because as the fall goes on, we start getting the holidays. It moves by really fast. And when you get after January, people are going back to school. And then that's when I see the late FAFSAs flying out the door. I do a lot of late FAFSAs in February. You want to start thinking about it when you can. And this is the first time that you can think about it. We'll talk about how to get started. We recommend that all FAFSAs be filed in this period. That's what we would like. We would like a world where they're all filed by Halloween. Okay. Colleges no longer require the tax return. Some of us think they're going to send their tax returns to the college. They'll shred it. They're not supposed to accept those. It's against the law. If you make less than $55,000, the college will require the federal tax transcript. It's probably a good idea to order the tax transcript anyway. I'll actually do a video on that, about a 2-minute video on it, maybe in the next 2 or 3 days. Because I think I think it's probably a good idea to request your transcript now, so you tuck it away and have it in case the school needs it. Especially if your income is lower than 55, but in general, I would. Some selective private colleges also require a financial aid document called the Css Profile. Okay? The Css Profile may require, listen closely, information on the divorced or separated non-custodial parent also. In fact, that may should be most times. It's more and more they're looking for the other parent too. Whereas a FAFSA only requires one parent. I really hope you understand that bullet. And that makes you see, I have a spouse that's not going to be cooperative. Listen closely. That probably should affect how you build your list. How the college list is built should be built around schools that are great that don't require the CS profile. And there are lots of them. This is where my college readiness conference that I'll talk about later is so important, because I'm going to help you navigate around that. Because there's going to be situations where spouses refuse to cooperate, or by the way, they may cooperate, and now you have income that's too high. And the FAFSA only required one parent. And by the way, it isn't clear, because of the divorced child rule, that it's always going to be the custodial parent. It may be that you pick the parent that has reduced income. So it gets really complicated on that one. So make sure you have me or someone that can really help. Again, there's a couple of consultants that will be glad to help you. They will charge you thousands of dollars, whereas I'm paid thousands by my church. So why would I charge you? It's not a lot of thousands, trust me. But I'm subsidized by West Angeles. So clearly you may have a small fee for your support program, but it's not nearly what they would charge. So definitely avail yourself, of our services when you can, okay?
Can I ask a question about the CSS?
You sure can.
Okay.
Wait, who are you? You're asking the best questions. Go ahead. Go ahead,
I'm
girl.
Shayla.
Huh?
I'm Shayla. My name is Shayla.
Shayla, and where does your student go to high school?
She is at McBride High School in Long Beach. She's in
Oh,
the
yes.
program.
Yeah, I know that school. I live in Long Beach.
Oh, perfect. I love it.
All right. Hope to meet with you soon. Go ahead.
Thank you. I want to know, what does CSS stand for? And are there schools that just always require this form, or is it a case-by-case basis? Because I definitely need to not have to worry about the other parent.
I thought I would get that question, but you asked it the most intelligent way I've ever heard it. So there are 600 schools that require it, 600 private schools. So usually the one that you want, you should check your list out, beat it against that list. You can Google CS Profile college list and get an idea, or just ask me. It's insane, but I know by heart. Isn't that crazy? Number two, are there some schools that require it on a case-by-case basis? I've never seen that. It's like a light switch. Either they do or they don't. Let Let me leave it at that. That's nuance because sometimes when a student is a continuing student at a college, they might require it randomly. Let's see. Usually it's only the first year, Sister Shayla. Isn't that interesting? The Csus Profile process. So what was the other question? Was in there somewhere. Oh
What
yeah,
does it
yeah,
stand for?
yeah, yeah. I want to make sure you know that there's plenty of private schools that only require the Fafsa. You know what I'm saying? Makes
I got
sense?
you.
Yeah, there's a lot of them that only require the, and there's some that require the profile, but I'm a spoiler alert, they don't read it. GW is like that. They require it and don't read it. Isn't that weird? So I was asking them why they require it, but they didn't answer me. So I don't understand it. So you won't understand it because I don't understand it. But that's the best thing. That's my best understanding of the CS profile. Okay. I used to not cover it here, but I think that would be wrong not to cover it. The Fafsa is not user-friendly. It is highly likely that you will make a mistake if it's your first time. Usually the mistake is not critical, but sometimes, and I saw them this year, it's a critical error, right? One of the biggest ones is when parents fill it out like it's them and not their student. You fill it out like you're the student and they're talking about you. It's not your Fafsa, it's their Fafsa. That's a huge mistake. And sometimes not recoverable because you don't realize it till later. There's other big mistakes people make, but I don't even want to mention them because it might encourage you to, you might make it. Here's what you will need to file the Fafsa. The Fafsa username and password for the youth and the parent. So each one needs a Fafsa username and password. Most common question, parents say, well, I had one for when I went to school. Yes, you can use yours, but the youth still needs one. Or you'll say, I had one for his brother last year. Yes, you can still use it, but this youth needs one, okay? The 2021 federal tax return. You'll need that in front of you. You'll need it in front of you to do my data sheet too. We'll talk about that in a minute. You need to then go to www.fafsa. Actually, it's fafsa.gov now. If you're filing your youth's Fafsa yourself, go to the following document online for detailed procedures. So they have a video there and all kind of stuff. But once you look at that video, you might start thinking about me doing it for you. It's a pretty involved video. I don't know why the government would do something like that and think that the form is easy to fill out. It can be made a lot simpler to form, by the way. And every administration tries to make it simpler, but they introduce some other weirdity to it. So I don't know what we're going to do about the Fafsa, actually. Mistakes on the Fafsa also happen in the follow-up phase. So maybe you didn't make a mistake on the Fafsa, but when they start asking questions, you think you need to change your Fafsa, and then that's where mistakes occur. Please, no youth should fill out their own Fafsa. See, it's in red underlined. A youth should not do a Fafsa. It's because they're not paying for college. Hello? They should not do it as a first-year student. Now, I've trained students to do their Fafsa when they were juniors and third and fourth year students. Do not have a commercial service to do your Fafsa. How about a nonprofit faith-based organization like us? We'll be glad to do it for you. But not a commercial service. They're going to overcharge you, and they really won't tell you what the data means and care for you. We're more pastoral. We care. We care how you use that data. We don't want you to get into a spot that's not going to be helpful to you. There's some other considerations. Let me just rearrange my screen again. Sorry. Other Fafsa considerations, okay? Order your username and password today. So I just gave you homework, okay? The username, and I should say usernames and passwords. As you'll see in a moment, I'll remind you, it's going to be for youth and parent. This is where you go to create it. That's why we're giving you the link to the slides, because you can just click on a control click or click on it and go right to the launch. Remember, in red, youth and parent each need a Fafsa username and password. So the youth will have a username and password, and the parent will have a username and password. Sometimes parents will set it up for the youth and they'll set it up for themselves. That's fine. But you need to go to that link, carefully go through it and create it. Now I'm giving you some great guidelines. You want to have this slide right nearby when you get there. The important thing is to allow us to test it. Once you got your username and password, let me test it and make sure it works. Take the time to order it today. I say it again, do it today. And what happens is a lot of you won't do it today, and that's okay. But then you'll get to October and your stress level will go up because you realize you didn't even order it yet. And that's when the mistakes can occur. But I put in this next view graph. I think this will help you. This is a new view graph. Important tips when creating the Fafsa usernames and passwords. Both the student, again, I say it, both the student and parent must create a Fafsa username and a password. And again, if it's a divorce situation and you want to, and the other parent wants to do it, and you agree, you guys are talking, well, then it needs to be that parent, clearly, okay? Each student should use their names as they appear on each's social security card, the each's. Quinn, could you correct that on the each's? Could you please?
Yes.
You're supposed to be looking for my errors, right? Are you?
Yes, thank you.
All right, good stuff. You can correct that in the source data. So when they go there, they'll get the corrected one, right? Each student should use their names as they appear on the social security card, not necessarily the ID. Your California ID may not match your social security card. It's not the ID, everyone. It's the social security card, or as you are known. In other words, it's not how people know you as, right? Like a lot of people in DC know me as Buddy. They think I'm Buddy Wilson. But my social security card says I'm John Hans Wilson III. You see what I'm saying? Make sure you use your name as it appears on your social security card. Because if you don't get that right, you can never create username and password check. That's what the government does to make sure you exist. Watch out for assumed names after divorce. Like the name may be hyphenated after marriage, okay? Or still the one prior to marriage, but it all goes back to the social security card. Please, the social security card. Try to remember that, okay? All right, when making the Fafsa username and password, Quinn, you can put in password in there. Keep it simple. Here's our recommendations. Here's what we recommend to make it simple, okay? Don't do a whole lot of, IEEC, exclamation point, as a dollar sign. Yeah, don't do all that. How about a first initial, a last name, and 4 or 5 numbers for username? How about that? By the way, the username is not case sensitive anyway. So don't worry about capital and small. It's not case sensitive. Boy, that's a really good advice I gave you, because you'll have trouble logging in later yourself and you'll wonder what happened. That's an extraneous parenthesis sign here, Quinn. It's an extra symbol, right? All right, your Fafsa password. I recommend 4 letters, 1 capitalized. Remember, it is case sensitive. 4 numbers and 1 special character. And please, only an exclamation point, a question mark, or an @ sign. Don't start getting into the other ones, because some of them do not work and you think they do work and you'll wonder what's going on. Like, for example, a colon or a dollar, just don't worry about it. There's a bunch of them that don't work, okay? So that's my recommendation for Fafsa username and password. Again, I highly recommend that you set up your Fafsa username and password today, because if there's some kind of an error and you can't create it, you need to know now so you have 2 months to fix it. And you can work with me, we can get that fixed. I can show you how to do that, okay? All right, let's talk about, let me get this out of the way, here we go again. Yes, we do Fafsas, over 1,000 the last 5 years. We're a Fafsa preparation site, so what can you do? You can email Quinn, and Quinn is here today. I was gonna be talking about her when she's not here. You can email Quinn for the link to the Fafsa data form. That's what you need to do. And she'll send you the Fafsa data form, which she mostly designed, and we're both the most aware of what it looks like. It's very user-friendly, way more than the Fafsa itself. And then we'll be able to do the Fafsa and get that done for you. There is a fee for the Fafsa. It's $55, but the same story again. we're not going to just file your financial aid form and just forget about you. We're going to follow all the way through. In fact, we want to see the financial aid award. We want to help you to get more funds. We want to get in there and make sure that you do the necessary other things once you pick the school. So we're very interested in that. Again, allows us to be more interested in your financial aid processing all the way through. Very similar to what we did with CSU, right? You will need a functioning Fafsa username and Fafsa password to complete the data form. So our data form, you need a Fafsa username and password. So you probably want to do that first, and then you want to fill out our data form. You're going to see, I won't be able to submit your Fafsa if you don't have username and password. You may be able to submit the form to me, but it won't go anywhere. We'll notice right away we don't have your username and password. Either Quinn or I will email you at that point. You will need to consult the completed 2021 federal income tax return to complete my data form, okay? You still will need it. The donation for completion is $55 for filing and all follow-up and even the college additions that are made. At some point, we'll show you how to make the college additions. We will help with all other paperwork and school requests, financial aid requests, if you let us file the Fafsa for 23-24. We will file it the 1st to the 20th for the first 40 data forms. Again, a lot of times people will wait and give it to us September 30th. So clearly we're going to process the ones we got first, right? But we do process them in the order we receive the data. I do that. I'm very careful to do that every year when I start on the 1st. Again, a lot of you will wait. That's okay, because you remember the financial aid deadlines start in November. So it's okay to wait, but be careful if you have early action colleges. Sometimes there's an early deadline. Most times there's not, but sometimes there is. And then you start getting some interesting things happening with deadlines in December, for example, like Boise State's deadline is December 15th to get the merit awards. I think Grand Canyon has some kind of deadline in December. Also, I can't seem to remember what it is. Okay, so let's continue and finish up here. Here's what you should be doing now and how we can help, okay? You should be having a college readiness meeting. If you already had a college readiness meeting, you're on our radar. We're working with your student very shortly, if not already. Watch email close, because usually Bailey and Christina and or Quinn are be emailing you to try to set up a meeting or go to the next step. And that would be an essay startup meeting if you already have had our preliminary meeting, our college readiness meeting. But in the college readiness meeting, you're going to bring the 3-year transcript, SAT scores, and the preliminary college list, which is optional. It's something new I'm asking for. I just want to learn your expectations given the GPA to know the things we should really talk a lot about in the meeting. So if you say you don't have a preliminary list, that's fine. One of the things we'll do in the meeting is help you to set up a list, okay? Is there a question? We're okay?
Deacon Wilson.
Go right ahead.
Hi, this is Monique.
Wait a minute. This is bait and switch, Erica. You see that? I have Erica, but I'm getting Sister Monique. Oh my goodness.
Well, we're here together. We're here together.
All right, go ahead and ask me.
So what else besides the prospective list of colleges what other information or how should we prepare for the college readiness meeting other than having like maybe her top 5 schools and all?
When she does the preliminary college list, she could delineate that to me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'd like to know the expectation level.
The expectation of
yeah, that's why I'm asking for that list. That's new. You've never seen that.
No.
Because that means I get to the meeting, I have the transcript, I have any scores if they exist, but I also have the expectation, what the student expects.
Do you want the transcripts and the SAT scores before we get to the meeting or?
Yes.
Okay, good.
And actually there's something I never put here that I should, which is also once you get those 3 things together and send them to me, I would like to know, and you can copy Quinn or somebody, copy one of my people. Those are the real brains of the operation. That's another difference there, Sister Monique. I got 3 good brains working with me now.
Well, that leaves you free to visit everybody.
Yes.
And all the things that you've been saying over and over and over again.
Yes, you get it. You get it. Yeah, I think you should also suggest 2 dates and times for our meeting and whether you want to be in person or not.
Well, I have a question about that. What is, you requested the 2 or 3 dates, but what are your hours of availability for that?
So I had an interesting meeting with Bishop about, 4 months ago, maybe it was 6 months ago. And he said, "Oh, Deacon Wilson, the only staff person doesn't work for me. Oh my God." I said, "What do you mean I don't work for you?" You know what he said?
What?
"You work for the parents."
You do?
And he's right. So you have to tell me my schedule. I'm not going to do it.
Okay,
So
okay.
you set up 2 or 3 dates and times that you think will work. And guess what I get to do? I get to pick one.
Okay, that's fair.
Because I hope everybody hears that. I do view myself that way. I view that I'm here for parents at this point in the process. I work with your kids. I work with youth. I'm not going to deny that. And I love to. In fact, during the pandemic, I think I was psychologically affected not working with youth. That's why I'm created. But I also
You're the
work with
hardest
parents.
working man in college readiness.
Huh?
I said, you're the hardest working man in college readiness.
I don't know. Maybe so. Are you equating me to James Brown? I don't know. I guess you're trying to do that.
That's factual.
Started to jump in there. All right. So definitely you said you'd give me the dates and times and I'll pick one. Okay. And my staff will help me pick one too, which is cool. If you include one in there, why don't you, either Quinn or Christina, we'll include their email addresses at the end of the presentation. They're at the end of this presentation. Okay. So you can tell me and them at the same time. So in the readiness meeting, what are we going to do? Oh my goodness. We're going to organize for the CSU application, right? We're going to organize, hopefully these are the things you should be doing in addition, I should be saying. Let me talk about what we do in the college readiness meeting though. We're going to help talk about career. We're going to look at the colleges and make sure there's enough affordable options. We're going to provide motivation for the career for students hitting on a career path. We're really big on career right now because we realize that college is just a tool. So that college readiness meeting is not just a college readiness meeting. If we really should change the name of it, it occurs to me now. There's something more going on there. But anyway, here are things that you should be doing now. Organize the CSU application. Order your Fafsa username and password. I am saying it again, right? Submit the Fafsa if you're going to do it yourself. If not, let us know. The Common App essay should be starting right about now or have been started. The UC essays and the college application list needs to be modified as needed. And we do some of those things in the college readiness meeting, which we start to talk about. Sometimes I even start up for the essay right after the meeting, depending on what people's schedules look like. And then we have a customized application support agreement we can set up with parents if they're needed. Now, if it's just going to be CSU and Fafsa, we don't really have to do an agreement. But if there's going to be a lot of UCs and private schools, we'll have some kind of an application support agreement. And we're extremely affordable. Don't worry, we're very affordable, and we'll work with you on costs, obviously. And here's the contact list. I thought there was one more chart, but there's not. Christina Martinez, you can include her in emails, or all of us if you want. cmartinez@gmail.com. She's a general administrative support, and she does a lot of this CSU stuff. You could probably hit her up for the data sheet. I know I have it under Quinn, but I think I'm going to have Quinn just doing the Fafsa and parent communications regarding the Fafsa. She's 20, and yeah, don't get them confused. You can send to either one, and it'll be, our team works so close together. Then we have Bailey Salisbury at b.salisbury, et cetera. She's doing parent communications and college support. So these three, are really kind of running the day-to-day communications. We meet regularly, and it puts me in a position, like Sister Monique said, where I can spend my time reviewing applications. I can review the review of essays. And I have a professional essay reader, Sister Brianna Bennett, who I should include here, but I didn't. I'll be reviewing their work. So it gives me more time to do the top level stuff on affordability with parents. And yes, visit colleges and visit students. I'm doing a lot more of that now. We have an alumni support program, et cetera. So contact, I have my cell number there. I have my email address there as well. Okay. So that's all I had today. I hope that helped. I know it was a lot of stuff, and I know I ran over a little bit, but we're perfectly willing to take questions if you would like. We took them during the meeting. Maybe there's not any others. I don't know. Anybody else? And I suspect a lot of you will contact me after the meeting. I budgeted some time. I do have an SAT prep. I'm doing 2 to 3:30. So you'll want to get to me after 4 o'clock or so, after 4:30. I have a lot of blank time to talk or set up meetings or whatever. I'll be up till about 9 tonight. I'm all wired up right now. Sister Wise, you have a question?
Yes, sorry. We were wondering if the payment for the, I want to say the data
Portal?
the data,
Data forms?
yeah, the $55, was it too late?
No, it's not too late. Remember, I seldom charge people. I don't do like, you can't start till you pay. I don't do that. I usually, it's going to be like they do in those expensive restaurants or whatever. We start to work, we just bill you.
Okay.
We will send you an invoice once we start to work. In fact, I used to be on CSU. I think it'd be this way too, that I don't really start till I review the data in that data form, because I can use it also for Common App too, can't I?
Mhm.
So I'm going to review that data really closely. And once I see we have a go, then that's when I'll invoice.
Okay.
I usually don't like it's Fafsa too. When I get that Fafsa data form, I'm gonna look at it. If there's major issues that need to be resolved, I don't charge till I get that form. So the bill will be down the road. It won't be you can't start till you pay. This is faith-based here. Come on, y'all.
Amen.
I think Bishop would fire me if I did that. I love him. I've known him for 30 years, but I think he would think I'm a loon if I do that.
And how can we process the payment? Is there like a thing on the website to?
No, we don't do that.
Okay.
We got in trouble doing that.
Oh, so you want?
Again, once you make connection with me, we'll invoice you for services.
Oh, okay.
In fact, in the case of the college support program, I have to value it, right? It's going to be somewhere between $115 and $240, but I have to, it depends on what we're going to do. So I can't do a common link online. I'll send you the invoice once we start work.
Do the readiness meeting, then you'll tell us everything that we're being charged.
Absolutely. I mean, I have people now that I've started a review of their essays. They're just now getting they only wanted essay review, right? So they're getting that bill. I'm halfway through.
Also, I have a question. Is there some kind of, you mentioned GPAs throughout the presentation.
Unweighted.
Unweighted. What if are there some schools that are like give an exceptional amount of money to students who have maybe like a 3.9 unweighted or 4.0 unweighted?
Yes.
Because that's definitely going to impact, I'm gonna call you back. It definitely will impact her choices. We want to go where the money is.
The short answer is yes.
Okay.
And I'm gonna show you my website how you can look at my list. I actually have a list up there.
Oh, I think I found it.
Yeah, it's very enlightening. It's on the banner, right?
You know what? I searched. I typed in affordable college.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're like that. You know how to pull data up.
Let me see.
I forgot about that. What she's talking about, these banners up top here, one of them is on our website. A website, by the way, there's your college affordable list, right?
But how did he? Why can't I find it?
It's at westa-eep.org. There's banners on the top. It will just shift automatically, but I didn't want to wait. See this arrow over here to the right? You click the arrow.
Okay.
Then you click here, it takes you to the list, parents. And there's some affordable selective. These are really affordable ones here. I don't know what, I cannot stress to you, like Lehigh changed the way they work a few years ago. They're crazy. Crazy is good. Carnegie Mellon too. Okay, I think that's what made Carnegie change. But Lehigh is their competitor, right?
See, now
You see that a lot. The rest of these have some kind of affordability latch that view 3.9, You almost have to apply to one of these. You might say, well, I don't want any of them. Okay, it's free, no problem. There may be others we'll discover, who knows? But these are the ones I know about. Relatively affordable Black colleges, right? There they go. Notice they're not private schools. Do you notice that, everybody?
Yeah.
They're not private colleges. Nothing wrong with any of these colleges. Okay? I've had good students go to all these, and the 3.9, you ain't paying much.
Okay. Yeah,
Mostly affordable Westerns. Here's your Western public universities that are hugely affordable. You said 3.9, you made it easy.
yeah, 3.9 unweighted.
Yeah, you made it easy.
So does she, in that situation, is it beneficial for her to still take the SAT or ACT? If she has
Yes.
AT class?
Yeah. Oh, wait. I'm gonna answer it. Yes.
Okay, so it is. Okay. Second question is, when is the next prep starting? We see that this one is ending this end of this month.
So we start in September for the October test. We're open enrollment.
Okay.
And we will see, right now we're in the Princeton Review classroom, which is online. We will see about getting a hybrid like we wanted this time, where they can come in person and or be online. I think we're ready to do that, right, Christina? We just got a curve thrown at us, right?
Yes.
We're ready. So we look like some students will come here while I'm teaching, and we'll just be streaming online. In fact, I have my office set up in that studio set up right now. I'm looking at the big screen here, the 60-inch screen I'm going to use. Right
now, it doesn't show available to register for this.
That's intentional.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah, we're still dealing with, well, it will be shortly, right, Christina?
Okay.
That's usually the way
We'll
we
wait.
work. Right, Christina?
No, actually, it's open right now. You're able to register. If you go
Okay.
on the website and you click under SAT, there's a registration form there.
Right
You'll
here.
just select the October test, and then I will be in touch with you.
Here it
We're
is
just
right
not
here.
currently promoting yet the October, but we will be by the end of this week. But if you go to Deacon showing you right now, go down to the registration form, you will be able to select the
If you
October
click the
test.
form, right, that's right. Because the form has a selection.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
You see it?
Thank you.
Yeah, she'll change that in the next day or two.
Yeah.
We found that when we had, because we have parents now in the current prep that go on here to look at the schedule. So I suspect after this weekend, Christina's going to snatch it. Right? Because she knows parents from this prep for the October test are still coming here and looking at the schedule. Does that make sense, Sister Monique? Okay, anybody else?
Hi, Deacon. Yes, this is Cassie Gregory. My daughter, Brianna Gregory, had the same situation as the previous lady was talking. She has a 3.9, but if we fight LSUSD, she have a 4.0.
Which school?
Fairfax.
And which college are we talking about?
What college do you plan on going to? Huh? CalArt. She's planning on attending CalArt.
Oh, that's a whole different ballgame. That's a for-profit art school, and anything for profit was not discussed today, and you'll pay $50,000 to $60,000 a year.
Oh wow. Okay.
I usually tell people who want to go to CalArts, you could get the same thing done at other schools and may not pay anything at all. I do not like for-profit schools. Sorry, I have a bias.
Because her major want to be animation and minor dancing. So
we need to talk offline. There are ways to get that done. There are ways to get that done. We haven't had our college readiness conference yet.
Okay.
Don't assume that CalArts is the only. Don't go, well, all these great people at Disney got their major from CalArts. Those are privileged families. They were able to pay for it.
Okay, we're going to have a meeting.
We're not privileged like that.
No, we're not. All right, thank you. I will be have it set up a meeting.
Yeah, I don't think you're willing. I know you look pretty well now. I don't think you're willing to take $250,000 loan.
No.
Maybe I'm mistaken, but we got to know each other pretty well last year.
Yes, we did. With Brian, he's doing okay. But
yes,
Brianna, it's a different story.
Totally different. I got that sense from you earlier.
Yes. Okay.
Is she gonna be in my SAT prep for October?
Well, yes, and that's what I'm going to talk to you offline.
Okay.
Yes, Clarissa's going to help me.
I'll pick up the phone tonight, or you can just go online and register her. Whatever you want to do, we're ready. We're ready.
Okay. Yeah, she's ready. She want to do it. Yes. Thank you so very much.
And I sure how to get that animation career going.
Okay, thanks.
I got students doing that right now.
Great. You hear that? Bree?
In life.
Yeah, because she's very good and she's trying to get her portfolio up together right now.
Let's roll.
Yes.
We got to go to Cal Arts to roll.
Okay. You hear that, Bree? Okay.
You can apply. I mean, but I'm just
No. I'm going to talk to you. No, I'm taking your advice. No
all right.
worries.
Okay. Anybody else?
Thank you.
Thanks for giving me a chance to make my crazy statement about for-profit schools.
No, you're welcome. Thank you.
I have a question, Deacon.
You're not only allowed one, whoever said that. You're not
Okay, this
only
is
allowed
Tanya.
one. People say a question. Go ahead.
Well, it's a simple question. Did you want me to contact you after you end this session, or
Let's see.
hold on?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna take about a break to about 12:15 or 12:20, and then you can start calling me because I have SAT prep at 2. I'm just sitting here getting bored. I'm up at West Angeles today. I'm just sitting here bored. So you can call me between the meeting too.
Well, listen, can I stop by?
Remember 2 o'clock, I start SAT though.
I'm literally like 4 minutes away.
Yeah, you could.
Okay.
You could.
See you shortly.
You could. Okay, bye-bye. I'm over in the main chair. You know where we at. Okay, anybody else? Any other questions?
Deacon, there's a couple parents that do want to ask you questions, but I don't know if you want to turn off your YouTube live. I know
Good one.
Miss.
Good one. I think we all, yeah, we